What's up, YouTube? It's Eye of the Boat, and today we have a new purple growth deck featuring cards from the Tale of Amatsu no Kuni, the new card expansion, and the package for growth this time around. The theme is 5 MP or more growth units, as well as we have now access to a 2 MP card that gives an instant attack to a growth unit. There's also a card where you can pay 1 MP and then give death. When this unit dies, gain plus 2 MP to a max growth unit. And with this deck, I actually used it to climb to champion with. I also play it in ranked, here and there after reaching the champions and win a decent amount of games. I also want to mention that this deck is an optimized list. It is what I think is really good for the meta, what I think is good for players. I actually built a green deck earlier, and after playing it a few times, I realized that it wasn't good, and I only want to share the optimal builds with my YouTube channel and make sure that everything is up to snuff. So I wouldn't be sharing this deck if I didn't feel confident in this build. So without further ado, let's take a look at the deck. Here's the deck list. You might see some familiar cards from the Devil's Awaken, but also there's an absence of the cards that we just talked about earlier, about the 2 MP action card where it gives an instant attack, and then another card that's 1 MP, and then you can gain 2 mana of essentially from it. But we're going to look at the core cards of this deck first before we start getting into why we don't play those cards. And without further ado, let's look at what we got here. So we got Kuroda Kanbei, and this card is one of the better growth 5 MP units that just released in this card expansion. There's actually not a whole lot of choices for growth units, but this one is pretty good. So at the end of all of its abilities for a growth unit, it'll become a 5/9, and it's also already well statted for a 5 MP unit. Usually for a 3/7, you pay 4 MP for that type of stat, but because it's a growth unit, it can get bigger, gains new abilities. It makes sense for it to be like a 3/7 because it turns into a 5/9. What's also really nice about this unit is it's a spillover unit. So as a spillover unit, this reminded me a lot of Tigrex, and Tigrex has always been known to be a unit that clears boards. When Zero came out, people were using Tenku on Tigrex to do full board clears, and the same can be done with Kuroda Kanbei, even better. So that is why we're using the Tenku hero art, and it's specifically for Kanbei, so that way we can clear boards. Next up, we have Old Man Dante, is what we call him. So Old Man Dante is, in my opinion, a weaker unit, because you don't get a lot of value until you hit max growth. So what happens if you don't hit max growth? If you don't hit max growth, then Dante doesn't really do anything. In fact, the Dante stats are how much you would pay for a 3 MP unit. So if you're not getting the growth off, this Dante can be really bad for you. But as long as you get the growth off to level 3, Dante is well worth it. So that's why we only play 2 of Old Man Dante, but it's still very important to have because of all the other support units we have here. So we have 2 new 3-drop units, and these are the cards that really support the 5 MP growth units. Like this one, Katakura Kojiro. When you have a growth unit on the board that's 5 MP cost or more, it gives shield to that unit randomly if you have more than one. But generally you only have 1. So this is a nice card that's a 3 mana 2/5. That's actually average stat line for a 3 MP unit. But you also can give shield to a 5 MP growth unit that helps protect them. So it helps the trade. In Kuroda's case, that's really good because that means that Kuroda will deal 4 damage on a trade, and then the shield will protect Kuroda from any damage. Next up, we have Naoi. So this card, when it's played, if you have a friendly purple unit with growth and an MP cost 5 or more, then Naoi will gain Nullify damage for 13 seconds. So the Nullify damage is actually very similar to Nightmare. It's not as strong because of the stat line being, average, but being able to have a 3 MP unit that can nullify damage means that Naoi is gaining way more value than any regular 3 MP unit, because we're doing 2 trades in that 13 seconds. So that means that Naoi is already dealing 4 damage for free and not taking any damage. And then after that, anything else is kind of, icing on the cake. What's also really nice is with Naoi out on the field for our purple deck, if our opponent's playing any burn cards or burn units, then there's a strong chance that Naoi will just soak up the damage and nothing will be done. So this really helps us protect our 5 MP growth units against mono red. Let's talk about some of the other new cards in this deck that don't have anything to do with growth, but are really strong. So Goto Matabe. This is an Ascension unit, and it can be very nice statted. Once it ascends, it becomes a 4/10, but has a really interesting ability. When you ascend with this, it returns a random enemy unit with a MP cost of 4 or less to the deck. And originally when I played this card, I was thinking of stopping the purple-black aggro, because our deck, the only cards we have to answer those are Demonic Intimidations, but sometimes it's just not enough. So having this unit really makes sense. And in the neutral game, for when we have our growth units, a lot of times we'll have so many growth units that we'll want to ascend. So having 2 units to ascend with, like Goto, is really clutch. So it serves 2 purposes. It can help us with a really bad matchup, but also when we go 3 wide, we can keep triggering growth by ascending with Goto. We only play 2 because once you play 3, it makes it really hard to draw consistently. Having too many Gotos is pretty bad. Next up, I should have mentioned this card earlier, Amago. This is a growth-related unit. So this card, if you have leveled up 5 times or more, using growth, you can return a random enemy unit with 2 or less attack to their deck. So I just want to specify that the 2 attack or less is actually hitting a lot of the meta, because 2 attack units are very average for cards in TEPPEN. Even like a 6 mana card will have 2 attack, or even like Old Man Dante has 2 attack. Even Lilith, that's a 6 MP card, has 2 attack. There's a lot of cards in TEPPEN that have 2 or less attack, and Amago returns them back into the deck for 4 MP. For those of you who've been with us from the older meta, Amago is reminiscent of Beltway, and Beltway was so powerful that it got nerfed. So Amago has a very similar ability, and it's pretty cheap. The only difference is that it has a condition now, so you have to get that condition meant where you get the 5 growth or more pretty early on. And with this build, we can achieve that. And with that, let's start with Lusaccia. We only play 2 copies of this, but this card is actually supposed to help Amago. And there's a really cool interaction between these 2 cards. So Lusaccia, when they grow, they give -4 attack to an enemy unit. And what's nice is Amago, if Amago has 4 times growth in the game, but you haven't hit the 5, but you have Lusaccia on the field, then what'll happen is you can play Lusaccia, have 4 growth, and then have Amago ready, play Amago, Lusaccia will grow, trigger the growth ability, give it -4 to an enemy unit, and even though you had 4 when you played Amago, because Lusaccia leveled up and you played Amago, Amago will go to level 5. I mean, play, 5 growth triggers, and then Amago's ability will trigger. This means that by the time that you do the Lusaccia and the Amago combination, it'll return any unit to their opponent's deck. And it's a really nice combo to have that. So what I'm trying to say is you don't have to have the level 5 when you play a Mago. As long as you have a growth unit on the board, you can play a Mago at 4 triggers, and then it'll trigger the 5th one, you know, with the existing growth unit, and then return something back. And Lusatia is just nice to have in the deck because it's a unit that helps you board control trade, but in best case scenario, you can also use it with a Mago. Next up, we have Keyfoth Roots. This card is a way for us to deal damage, and it's for pretty cheap. You just play another card, deal damage. It deals damage equivalent to its own attack and to a random enemy unit. Next up, we have Dalsum. Dalsum is very good to be used with Keyfoth Roots. And Dalsum is dealing 2 amounts of pings. On the first trigger, it deals 1. On the second trigger, it deals 3. With Keyfoth Roots, this can destroy a lot of enemy units. And what's nice is because of these growth abilities being so cheap, that means that we're getting to our Mago quicker. And also reducing the amount of enemy units that are on the board early on. We have Uncanny Chill. This is a card that gives us plus 3 HP to a friendly unit, but also if it had growth, it'll get 3 growth points. So this card is in the deck, so that way if our opponent is trying to kill one of our units, we can grow it and, you know, get whatever benefits are there from it, like deal 2 damage, deal 3 damage, for example. Next up, we have Silent Assassin Gen. Now this isn't really towards the growth pattern or, you know, the theme or the mindset, but the problem with our deck is we have a very strong early game. Our early and mid game are really strong with the purple growth build, but our late game is just awful. So let's just say that our opponent plays, I don't know, Fate Defying Ryu. We actually don't have anything to do against Fate Defying Ryu. So that's why Silent Assassin Gen is in the deck, because it's a 3 MP out to take away the Fate Defying Ryu, and then, you know, we can keep on playing the game. It's a very costly card, but, you know, in a pinch, this is what you need. Demonic Intimidation is a really great card. Originally we had this for Yon, but I haven't seen a whole lot of Yon, but you just can never go wrong playing Demonic Intimidation. 3 MP to remove an enemy card is pretty strong. And yeah, that's pretty much the deck. You know, the theme is to play these 5 MP growth units, but also have a really strong early game. And I hope with the gameplay that's coming up, I can show that to you. Alright, let's see what we get here.
I'll destroy every last maverick.
Alright, this is a very good hand. So what I like to do, as well with all of my other decks, is I like to wait till 10 MP. With the purple growth unit deck, it's a little bit harder, because you actually have to have 11 MP to play out your like whole first good hand, whereas other decks, they can work with 10. Us, we can only go 11. So I play these 2 cards here, and then I gotta wait for that 1, but there we go. We got the max growth on 2 units already. Now it's just a waiting game to see what happens. Now we have enough MP to play Kuroda. I was going to play a 3 MP unit, but they just gave us so much MP that it didn't make sense to play anything else. But with this current board, we can go ahead and start playing even better units. Oh, nice. Okay. So we're gonna play Katsukuro to support Kuroda here. Now they have a shield. And I'm looking at my opponent's MP. They're only at 4 MP, meaning that they only have 2. Because 2 of that is the blue MP. But it looks like we're going to be able to do 6 damage bottom with combo. So that's 12. And that's it. That was pretty quick. They were playing a really good deck too. That's the growth mono red deck. Oh, we're playing against number 8. And they're playing Thunder Edge. This is scary. Yeah, this is not going to cut it. That hand is not going to cut it. So because they have Thunder Edge, this means that they're a very aggressive deck. We can already tell they're dual color. This is scary. But we're going to try and go for our regular game plan. Alright, I'm going to try and set up a Goto here. But I also want to grow Dante. Actually, we're just going to go straight to Dante. And then save up for Goto here. That evasive action is pretty good. Because it's free, we'll go ahead and use Uncanny Chill to grow bottom. That'll give us 3 growth triggers. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get to the growth very easily. I'm going to have to use Goto here to make sure I don't lose this game. So just saving up that mana. This is the exact reason why we play Goto. There we go. That was super lucky. I can't really deal with the flight units with this type of hand. They're in a pretty bad spot. Interesting. We're just gonna have to keep blocking bottom. Can't really do anything else.
Surrender now.
Interesting. They got it. The deck is way too aggro. Oh wow. I messed up big time. And so did they. I guess we might win this. I don't know. Wow, we both played bad. Holy heck. Does he even have enough mana to block? They do, okay. That's 3. Let's go ahead and remove that card. They actually don't have mana. Let's remove this. Ouch. They won. That's crazy.
It seems it is time to retreat.
At least they were really high rank, so we didn't lose a whole lot of points.
Commencing battle operation.
This hand's not that good because we don't have the growth units in that one. This one we do. So in this case, we want to go Kuroda into Dalsim into Katakura. This gives us the potential for more growth triggers. Because Katakura doesn't have growth, but the other two do. So obviously we're going to do that, and then one more. There we go. We're happy. I'm going to go ahead and bounce that card. That's fine, they gave us an extra card. But we also got rid of the penguin. Rashid's going to die to Kuroda. Let's see, I think we want to go for another Kuroda. Generally, you want to wait to place cards a bunch. Because if they kill this Kuroda, you know, before we get the growth points, we didn't actually gain much. So we'll just wait it out. Alright, here we go. I think their Ken attack line is first. Let's go ahead and just heal. We'll also do this so they don't get the trigger on their divine thing unless they're really quick. And they were not.
Swift and sure victory is all that
So that was actually 3 games, but I think I'm going to play another one. Just because against top 9, that was just a very fast game. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction, I don't think. I guess there was interaction, it just all happened so quickly.
target acquired.
Oh, this person just got to champion. This is a pretty decent hand. So in this case scenario, there's 2 ways you can play it. Kuroda always has to be first, but for more damage early, you can do Kifoth roots. Or if you want the overall damage, you can do Dalsim instead. In this case, I'm going to do Dalsim as a second card. So that way once they kill one of these units, we can pop the other ability. That's a hard call. I think we just bounce it in itself, so that way it loses the ability, and we can keep our trades. Yep, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and drop another unit, so I can get another growth. It didn't hit anything, but I get to keep that growth trigger for a Mago. And now, as you can see, when I drop a Mago and I have Lusachi on the field, it'll bounce anything that they drop.
Last warning. Surrender now. Time to finish this.
There you go.
Swift and sure victory is all that matters.
It's pretty nice to play a 4-mana unit that removes an enemy unit. You don't see that a lot. Let's get into some closing tips. So again, I want to emphasize that this deck has no late game. It just has a really strong early and mid game. That's about it. But we can go into late game. The only thing that's saving us is Silent Assassin Gen. And what I really like about this deck is we actually only play 5 actions. And that's kind of how old fours used to play. This deck, in my opinion, it kind of follows the same playstyle fours had, where you just like played units, got all your value from unit triggers. You did play actions in the deck, but not as much as the units. The units were the big thing. But this is really nice. Not having to respond to everything that your opponent does is pretty nice. So that way, you know, you can focus on the growth triggers. I would definitely keep away from using actions that are not, you know, necessarily worth it. Like the Demonic Intimidation and Uncanny Chill are 100% worth it to use in every single situation. But if you were to put more actions in this deck, it would become fluff. That's MP and investment that you're spending that's not towards growth triggers, and growth triggers makes this deck run. So that's why you don't see a whole lot of actions in here, is because you want to use all of your MP for the growth units, so that way you can get to Mago. Like, that's way more important. But yeah, this is becoming a really nice deck that I enjoy to play. I like that I can play it with purple, and I do think that there are better decks out there in the meta, but this is still really strong. This is a really good contender, really consistent. There is one more thing that I guess we could go into, and that is the other growth purple units and why we don't play them. So 5 MP or more, Garyon Knight is just very low value. You know, I could talk about it all day, but just very low value for what it is. Innocent Desire Lilith, what I always tell people about this card is the only time you want to use this is when you're half dead, and when you're half dead you probably don't have enough resources to invest into this and come back. So that's another reason why you don't want to play that card. Oshu Lord Date Masamune, this card, the idea of it is great, but the stat line for it is really bad. And what I really don't like about this card is that you have to play a bunch of support cards for it, and that's like a bunch of support cards for one legendary, and the support cards will only work for Oshu Lord Date, you know, because I don't really want to give attack to like Dante, I don't want to give attack to, you know, Kuroda, but I have to give attack to Date, otherwise Date just does nothing. 3 attack damage with combo and spillover is very underwhelming. So for me to base my whole deck off of giving attack to my units is pretty weak. So that's why we don't play Date. Well, I actually did not see this card before. I don't think this is good, but it looks like it's another 5 mana growth unit. So maybe that's something somebody else can check out. But we'll look at it another time. I think what we have is already staple enough. I do want to look at 2 other cards that came in and that we talked about. And that's the instant attack card. Here it is. One-Eyed Dragon's Value. This card, if you have a growth unit, it will perform an instant attack. So the instant attack, the reason why I don't like this card, or why we'll play it in the growth deck, is because our growth deck is all about board control, as you saw. The reason why we won was board control. But instant attack is usually a very stable way for aggro decks to win out. So that's why we don't play this card, is because we don't want to be aggressive. We just want to control the board. That's about it. That's why this 2 MP card doesn't necessarily fit that role for us. Next up we have Bone Divination. The one thing I don't like about this card is that if you play it, you would only play it as a 1 or 2 of, because it's not consistent enough for you to use as a 3x. To use it as a 3x, you're actually opening up yourself to removal. You're opening yourself up to a lot of weaknesses, and for very little payoff. If you have to pay 1 MP to gain 2 MP, you only net 1, and that was by giving your opponent 2 MP and then potentially like removing or killing your unit. And it's also very highly conditional, where you have to have a max growth unit. So overall, this card is just very underwhelming. You know, why would I want to pay 1 MP to give 2 MP to my opponent? Because they will get the blue MP and they will find a way to counter you. And that's why we don't play that card in the deck. And I did forget to do this. I always forget this, but here's the QR. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. And thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate you guys. Feel free to comment anything you want below.